How important is Google Maps compared to Google business profiles?
These are the same thing. So Google Business Profile and Google Maps are they are the same thing.
Oh, duh. Yeah.
Yeah. So they now there is a difference between like Google Maps and Google Business Profile and organic SEO. They
Okay.
are, in my opinion, 100 times more important. If I'm going to go search on Google, and I still make Google searches. Like we just had really bad floods in Kentucky and like tornadoes, and my roof got damaged. I know a roofer, but my basement got flooded. And so I'm like trying to find someone that can repair a basement window. So first thing I did was go to Google just out of instinct. I don't have the Chat GPT app on my phone yet. You would think that I would doing what I do for a living, but I use my computer. So long story short, I go straight to the maps, and typically it's like I might skip the first guy and I'll go down to two or three. I don't know why I do that. It's just that's who I am, because I own a business, and sometimes the first guy, he might have 500 reviews, and I know that he's going to be top tier, high level pricing, and depending on where I'm at financially at that time, I might go, all right, I'm gonna go down to number two or number three, and then I'll call number one at the end after I've gotten some quotes and just kind of see where it's at. I don't know. That's just how my brain works. So um, people do that. I mean, that's where if they're going to go to Google, they're going to go to the maps first, and you will still get traffic organically. I think that the data shows, and I could be wrong here for the 2025 data, but the 2024 data showed that about 20 to 30% of search volume goes to the organic, that only like the top three though of the organic search results. So if you're not in those top 3 to 4, your chances of getting clicks are minimal as far as the organic goes. Lewis Vanderhook shared a meme a long time ago that says, if you want to bury a dead body, put it on page 2 of Google, because nobody's going to page 2. Um, and so
So
Maps
let
is
me
the
let
first
me ask you
priority.
this, Ronnie. So how do you get into that first top three ranking with organic? Like, what do you mean? Like, how would you build that to get those organic rankings up there?
So the first thing is there's a lot of factors that play into it. You first need a really good website that has good on page SEO. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to try to break this down step by step. It's going to be long winded, so bear with me. The website needs to be structured well. You need to have about 1,500 to 2,500 words of content, relevant content. Don't go into Chat GPT and tell it to write you 1,500 words about junk removal. Now, you can do that for framework, but you need to change about 50% of it yourself so that it's humanized. Okay. 1,500 to 2,500 words. That's kind of step one. You need an H1 tag that describes your service well. And then you need multiple H2 tags, H3 tags, H4 tags. I know this is more technical stuff, but I'm building it for you so you kind of understand what all goes into ranking in the top three. Um, you can have as many H2 through H6 tags as you want, as long as they are in descending order. So you can have, as long as they're H1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you can have as many of those 2 through 6s. You only want one H1 tag per page. Okay. So let's assume that you have a good website built. You've got that content in there. You've got good, clear photos. You don't have the words aren't hard to read, so you don't have like neon green letters on top of a dark green background. Like it's easy to read, so that the Google bots, when they crawl it, they can pick up the keywords and all that. Once you've done that, like an agency like us will come in and then begin to build high quality backlinks to the website. Okay. Backlinks are links from other websites that when you click them, redirect to your site. So I'll use like a citation link as an example. So you know what Yelp is? Yelp is a citation, but you get a backlink from Yelp. So in your Yelp profile, it'll say, visit Fuhgeddaboutit junk removal today, and then it'll have your URL there. Well, when you click that URL, it goes to your website. That's a backlink. Now, that's a very simple version of a backlink. We go out, we look for local backlinks first. We try to find schools, and even hit up prisons before and got backlinks from prison systems, and super powerful too, because there's a lot of visitors going on there to put money on people's books. And so, we offer discounts to the prison system workers, and they allow us to get a backlink. So there's a number of different ways we go and we get these backlinks for our clients. Over time, Google sees, oh, this site has a bunch of credible links from these other sites that trust this site. we need to trust it too, is essentially how it kind of works. Again, this takes time. Google only crawls and indexes about every 30 to 45 days. So as they're crawling and indexing and seeing these links, they're going to see that these other sites that they already trust you, and then they're going to move you up in the ranking. Now, that's one piece of the puzzle. The other piece is we can do this through multiple different facets. You want to be putting fresh content on your website. Now, that doesn't mean you want to be changing your photos or your primary content all the time. It means you can trickle in service pages or service area pages. And then you can also be writing blogs. So I
So,
really
hold
like blog
let me
writing.
just stop you there for a second. How
Sure.
often should a junk removal company update their site? You said it crawls every 30 to 45 days. Should we do that every 30 to 45 days? Do some sort of update?
You should be posting at least one blog once a month. Okay. As far as updating the site, like changing out photos or swapping out word content, no, you should do that you matter of fact, I wouldn't do that for as long as you can. As long as Google likes the content, right? So, like, if you do all this, you build out the content and you're still not ranking well. And then, by the way, we can do a free website audit at any time. I don't charge people for that. And I can tell you, hey, you need to freaking redo your content, or it's hard to read and that's why Google's not picking up on your keywords. Once you get that done though, like, it's good, but you need to be adding content consistently each month. I like blog posting to do that because you don't have a 9 million page website, which you don't necessarily need. Um, and you're talking about relevant things that Google likes and you're building your credibility with them. So blog posting is how I would do that.
I got to ask you this, man, because this is where it gets a little confusing. Because where is the sweet spot as far as how many pages your website should have? Because I kind of started seeing myself. Because at first, I was like, oh, I have like 10 to 15 pages and all.
Yeah.
But then when I started adding all the services on, I started realizing like, oh my God, you could really start adding on a lot of pages.
And
And before you know, I mean, what do we add on mine now? We're probably like 25, 30 pages or something.
yeah, I think you're close to 30 now.
Yeah.
So look, this is a difficult question. I don't necessarily know if there's a limit. I think you should ask yourself, do I have so many pages that it's going to be hard if when people land on the page to be like they're going to feel overwhelmed and maybe they don't take any action because there's too much going on. There's too many pages. Like when they click our services drop down and there's 50 services and they're like, oh my God, I don't even know where to start. I'm going somewhere else. That is one risk in having too many pages. But here's the positive side of having a lot of pages. Say you've got a page built out for hoarding cleanouts. We'll just use that. Um, when someone is in your market and they type in, hoarding cleanouts, Sonoma, California, and you have a really well built, high quality content hoarding cleanout page, there's a good chance that your page is going to rank very high for a hoarding cleanout keyword because it's not a highly searched keyword. Now, you probably have some competitors that maybe have that page built out too, but in some markets you don't. I mean, we had a client in Ohio, and we did that a hoarding. That's why it popped up in my head. We had a hoarding cleanout page, and he landed like a $7,000 job because he popped up. He was the only guy that popped up for that keyword. So now the search volume is low there. There's no guarantee that's going to happen, but that is the benefit of having individual landing pages. The other kind of not necessarily negative, but it's almost like a wash, like it doesn't help you. If all of your pages are the exact same, like the words are the same thing, you just change out the keyword from maybe estate clean out to hoarding clean out, and all the other filler verbiage is the same, the pictures are kind of the same, the page is essentially kind of cannibalizing itself. The search engines aren't really seeing much of a difference. So it's not hurting you by any means, but it's not really
Helping,
benefiting you.
really. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't want to say there's a limit on how many pages because that doesn't necessarily make sense. I just think if you're going to do it, the pages need to be unique. The content needs to be unique. Um, yeah. Yep. Yeah. 1,500 words of content is correct. Sorry. I saw your comment pop up.
Yeah, let me read that out for Jeffrey says, I've been told by many that you should have roughly 1,500 words of relevant, unique content per page. What are your thoughts? What is your argument against 1,500 words?
I have no argument against that. That's actually the minimum that I would recommend to have for a homepage specifically. So 1,500 to 2,500 words of content on the homepage. Um, when you talk about landing pages, you don't necessarily need 1,500 words of content on landing pages. Like, so for example, like a hoarding cleanout page, I would recommend somewhere between 750 and 1,000 words of content on a landing page like that. Um, because that's going to be more than your competitors typically. Now, say we're in a super like LA, like downtown LA, and everybody's got a lot of content on each page. That might change. Our costs would be a lot higher to do that. But my point is, for your service pages and your service area pages, you can get away with 750 to 1,000 words of content on those. But your home page, 1,500 to 2,500 words, is going to put you really up into that sweet spot. So I don't disagree with that at all. That's a good point.
America Junk Boss says, if I switch website builders, will that hurt my ranking on Google? I'm organic and don't want to drop down, but I'm considering switching from the guys I used to a guy who knows more about my industry. What's your thoughts on
Um,
that?
no, it won't hurt you as long as you don't change the links on the website. So, like, I don't know what your URL is, but say americajunkboss.com. Um, Switching to a different builder won't hurt as long as they are using, they have plenty of quality content and quality verbiage on the website, and they're using the same links because the link is really what builds that SEO power over time. It might actually help you to make the switch and have a really well built out website. Google might like the content change. So it might benefit you to do that. It definitely won't hurt you as long as you're not changing links out. And when I say links, I also mean like the long tail links. So let's say you've got a junk removal landing page, you would, so it'd be like America junk removal or America, I'm sorry, I couldn't remember the name, americajunkboss.com/junk removal. You would want to make sure that you retain that same URL and attach it to your new junk removal page so that you don't lose the power from that link.
That makes sense. So I wanted to find out now. So now the company's up and they're making 15 to 20 grand a month. And also now's the time to start looking into get into SEO and all that. So how does that whole process start when they contact you? Like, what I'm trying to say is like, how long can they expect to see the results from the SEO that you guys do?
Man, that depends on a lot of different factors, but I'll walk you through the process kind of completely here, and I might use some different markets as examples. So when you decide that let's say that you're like, hey, I want to reach out to Ronnie and have a conversation and just kind of figure out where I'm at and what it would look like. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to qualify. We're going to have a qualifying conversation. We call it a discovery call, where we kind of talk about who we are. Like, we walk you through our journey. We started in junk removal, and that got us essentially pushed us into marketing unintentionally, and that's how we came about. So we know the junk removal game. Um, then from there, we're going to make sure that you're qualified. So we're going to make sure you're around that $15,000 to $20,000 a month mark, and not that you just had a $15,000 month, but all your other months you've only done six. We got to make sure you're consistent. Once we realize that you're qualified and that we think we'd be a good fit, and we're not already in your market, we'll then go in and do the market research. So we're going to look at your current heat map. Where are you actually ranking in Google Maps? Not when you search from your phone logged into your own profile. Where does Google show that you're ranking? What keywords are available in your market? How many people are actually searching for junk removal Sonoma, California? We're going to do all that research and put it all together. And then from there, we're going to come to you with a proposal based on your competition, the keyword volume, all that. And then from there, it really depends on the competition and which keywords are available. I'll tell you this: I've heard a lot of people say that if you're in a market under 150,000, you're going to struggle to rank, or you're going to struggle to drive in business, even if you don't rank well. My most successful client is in a market of around 110,000 people. And here's the difference: that guy is a freaking hustler. So he's out all the time marketing his business on the ground, building relationships with contractors. Every single dumpster, he's a dumpster rental guy. So similar industry, a little bit different, but he's building the relationships. And he's given us, he's been our client for like 17, 18 months now. When he started, he was doing around, I think he was doing around $16,000 a month. He just did like $125,000 last month. He hasn't dropped under $60,000 a month in almost 6 or 7 months. Now we can't take all of the credit because he's a hustler. But what we do combined with him out there on the ground pushing and growing, now he's doing over 6 figures a month in his dumpster rental business, and he's in a market of 110,000 people in Central Kentucky. And so my point is, anybody can make it happen. It's just how bad do you want it? And if you're going to work with an agency, you need to give them time. Now, I have come into markets and I have gotten people in the top. Savannah, Georgia is a good example of this. That guy's actually moved on to a different industry, but we got him in the top 3 like in 75 days. And then he ended up going into residential trash later on. But anyway, we can make it happen very quickly. It can also take somewhere between 6 months and a year. You know, it's funny. I had a guy in Kansas, and he was he reached out to me. He had been with it'd been like month. I think we're on month 4 or 5. He's like, bro, we're still kind of like dead for real. We're not. And I'm like, bro, you're so close. The data was showing. I could see that he was like about to bust through that bubble. Like he was getting really close to being number 3 for like a pretty good radius. The next month, he was like, I can't keep a can in my yard. Like I'm renting everything out. Um, and since then, he's been so busy, I can barely get a hold of him. And so it's like, it just depends, it's hard for me to come in. And if any marketer comes in and they're like, in the first 90 days, we're going to get you in the top 3, or in the first 6 months, we're going to get you in the top 3. I used to do that. We'll get you in the top 3 between 90 days and 6 months. There's no guarantee, but what we do on the front end is we do our best to nail down that market research to try to give you a timeline. I always tell people this: stick with me for 6 months. If you don't like me, you don't like the data that we're giving you, you don't like the service, I'm not going to be mad if you walk away. I'm not going to make you sign a contract, but I'm not going to be mad if you step away.
No Limit says, I think if you want your business to succeed, a lot of business and junk removal needs to learn how to master their own work and watching it grow. Don't make it complicated. Less is best. Mr. Yee. Thank you, Mr. Yee, for that, brother. So
100%.
now we start, so I hire you for SEO. We start working and everything. So you're saying like 3 to 6 months you'll start seeing the returns and all. What can they expect, as far as like the SEO returns? Is it like 2x, 3x, 4x? Like what is like the average, junk removal company?
So, yeah, around 3 to 6 months, you'll see that you should be making some money off of what we're doing, or getting pretty close to it, right? So it could depend on the market. If you're in Los Angeles, I'm just going to tell you, it's going to take you maybe 2 years, right? Like if you're in downtown LA, there's so many like small towns around there that also have hundreds of thousands of population and a bunch of keyword searches. It's going to take longer. Um,
Let
but
me ask you this, Ronnie.
yeah,
Now, like let me give you an example. Like in my area, we're in North Cal and everything. We got a lot of the big boys. We got a lot of the franchises in the area. We got 1-800 Junk. We got Junk Kings. They're right in the area. So how can like a junk removal company come out and outrank, a national brand like that that's putting millions into their marketing? Is that possible?
Yeah, we outrank them all the time. It's there's a lot of different things. Again, location relevance plays key. So having the location attached to your business really helps in the maps. And so like let's say 1-800 Got Junk, or one of these big franchises is in your area, but maybe they're not like in the heart of the city. Maybe their location is outside of the city. You can outrank them. We outrank them very often, because they're not putting a lot of money toward their Google business profile. Like they have an internal marketing team. Their stuff gets power because they're a national franchise. So like their websites rank high because they've got 150 websites or 200 websites or however many, I don't know how many franchise locations they have, but they're able to draw power from their own internal network. That doesn't mean they can't be outranked. It just means that when they come into a market, they rank really quickly because they bring that power with them. But if there are other competitors in that market that are doing the work, doing the right things on the off page and on page SEO, we'll outrank. We outrank them in a number of markets.
That's good to know. And Jeffrey says, if I don't see results after 6 months, do I get a refund? I guess he's
No.
talking about if you like hired for SEO and you weren't seeing the results after like 6 months and all. How would you go about like that if you're having problems with like, what if you like in a place like LA, like you're saying, and it's just really hard to get in to crack that top 3 and everything. How do you go and how do you deal with that situation?
Well, the first thing is we wouldn't set the expectation of 6 months. I would tell you, hey, you're in LA, you're in downtown Atlanta, you're in Miami. It's going to take a more significant amount of time for you to rank. So if you're going to do this, just know it's going to take time. Also, I never guarantee anything at 6 months. Any SEO agency that says I guarantee you at 6 months you're going to be ranking in the top 3, maybe they get lucky and you are, but also there's a chance that you're not going to. So we make no guarantees. That's just typically where we see the ball moving. And sometimes, like I said, sometimes before then, sometimes it could take longer. Uh, by the time we've gotten to the 6 months, we've put in a lot of work. We've paid team and labor, and like it's not just me over here on my computer doing this, or we'd never be able to scale. So no, we don't do any kind of refunds. I will tell you this. I'll tell you this quick story. We had a client. It was our fault. We underestimated their market, and they had worked. They had been with us for 6 months, and this is for you, Jeffrey. They had been with us for 6 months, and it wasn't their fault. Like they weren't really doing all the things they needed to be doing, but it was really because we underestimated the market. So what we did was we did the next 6 months for free. So I didn't give them any money back, but I was able to like, hey, we're not going to charge you, and we'll just do it for free over the next 6 months. We kept doing the same thing. By the time we got to the end of the next 6 months, I proved via the data. So I don't fluff any data. I pull data off of Google Business Profile directly and directly off the website. So it's not like I've got some obscure system. Like our clients have access to the same exact systems. That we got them like 85 leads in a 90-day period. So I'm like, all right, look, now it's working. I got you 85 leads. And they still weren't, they were like, well, I think they have a sales problem, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. And so we ended up cutting ties at that point, which is kind of vulnerable for an agency to say. But we did the right thing, and we gave them 6 months for free. So if it's our fault, like if we underestimate a market, or maybe we don't do what we say we were, like say I told you it's going to take a year and it doesn't, we're going to work to get you the results for that same period of time. That's, again, we don't make those guarantees. It was a while ago when we started with them, and I had told them by 6 months you'll see results, and they hadn't, and it was on us. So we did the right thing, gave them the next 6 for free, got them results, and then when we broke the relationship, it was friendly. Like we're friends with them. There was no problems. Everybody was good, but they were in a much better position than when they started with us, and that we were able to do that and feel good about it, if that makes sense. So I hope that answered your question.